started. Karen Weiner wrote just a few minutes ago and said she's not going to be able to make it and sends her apologies in that regard. I have not heard from Morgan, so I expect Morgan to show, and I'm not sure about the mayor or Chris, but we will go on. Before we do our introductions, and first, thanks to everybody for showing up, and for those watching on streaming, if you go to route29solutions.org, under the advisory panel meetings, you'll see the agenda as well as the presentation that we're going to use today, so we invite you to go do that. For those of you that have been here, you know this, but out the front door, out this door to the right, there are restrooms, and if we need to leave this room or evacuate for any reason, we go back down the steps, out the door you came in, the front door, go to the left, and our rally point is actually in that parking lot behind the building that you would see at the bottom of the hill. There are several people here that are at the Research Council, or the Research Council, that are certified CPR trainers. So we haven't needed those services, and hopefully we won't. But Mayor, welcome. We'll go ahead and get into our regular meeting. The agenda for today covers all of our standing items. We'll have a review of the Community Assistance and Engagement Program, an update on the design-build budget versus the cost, an update on utility easement status, just a brief update on what's going on in terms of place naming, and then we will have a presentation from the design-build, some key members of the design-build team. So let's go ahead and do our introductions of the panel. Henry, we'll start on your end.
Henry Weisling, consultant to Express Car Wash.
Brian Sheffield, Elmore County Board of Supervisors. Chris Engel, City of Charlottesville.
Mark Graham, Albemarle County.
Chip Boyles with the Planning District Commission and MPO. Pete Bush's CMA Properties.
Luke, technical team.
Lou Hatter, Communications Manager.
Ken Connors, VDOT Construction. Al Jones, Project Management Office.
Linda Cullum, VDOT IT.
Debbie Messina, Fellowship Cat.
Dave Covington, VDOT Charlottesville Residency.
John Lynch, VDOT Culpeper District.
Joel D'Annunzio, VDOT Charlottesville Residency.
And we also have representatives with us today from the Lane Corman Joint Venture, who we will see. We'll see a presentation from them later. But Wallace, I'd like you to go ahead and you guys introduce yourselves.
Wallace Hoffman, Lane Corman. Ken Prince, Lane Corman.
Ryan Gorman with Lane Corman.
Owen Peary with RKK Engineers.
Chris Ray with Record Design.
These are the key team members of the team that we're going to hopefully deliver a big check to at the end of this. No, Wallace is counting on this at the end of the meeting. So, or not at the end of the meeting. Not at the end of the meeting. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But we will hear from them later. We've got a fairly full agenda this time because we did not meet the last meeting. Appreciate everybody's cooperation and understanding in that regard. But I believe that if we stick to it, we can work through this in our usual 2 hours. So, Linda, you will go over to, from our live streaming from our last meeting, there were 55 unique viewers, few up from the meeting before that in February. There were fewer streams, which it results in longer view times per stream. So we had more people zeroing in and staying longer on the live streaming. I've changed this just a bit, and I'll explain why. Since our last meeting, we had 11 new comments submitted via email. The Route 29 Solutions mailbox. We had 60 new postings on the public input or provide input piece of Route29Solutions.org. But almost all of them dealt with project selection issues. And we like this, we don't like that. There were 13 that said we oppose RIO. There were 10 that said I support Route 29 Solutions, including RIO. It's not that those aren't important. People are free to continue to make those comments, but we're just past that. So I don't plan on, hey Morgan. Morgan, you can introduce yourself to everybody while you're sitting down.
Hey everyone, Morgan Butler, Southern Environmental Law Center. Sorry to be late.
That's all right. There was some exchange on the features of the John Warner Parkway that really don't relate to our project, but some expressions of whether or not there were enough lanes and whether the shoulders were wide enough. There were 2 that did deal specifically with delivering the project. One was just a thought that perhaps for the quadrants we could use the term quarters, and there was one that said we should make efforts to incorporate green elements into the RIO intersection, and that was both, at least as I read that comment, not just in terms of landscaping, but also energy efficiency. There was part of that comment that, could we use green roof technologies, which some of you all are familiar with. Unfortunately, we need to leave some room for concrete on the overpass, so I'm not sure to the extent that we can do that, but we'll continue to talk about landscaping, how landscaping will be incorporated into that intersection, and perhaps there are some ideas for lighting on energy efficiencies that we can look at or have already looked at. I went back and did review all the comments to make sure of this. There were no comments on the 30% design submittal that came through either the inbox or through the provide input piece of Route 29 Solutions. But we do have some comments from panel members, from Pete, from Morgan, from Karen, and from Simon Properties. Dave had a conference call with Simon Properties Chief Engineer Rich Kelly. So we will review all of those as part of the agenda today. Okay, we'll go from our February 19th meeting. There were 2 comments that we need to close out on. And one, we talked about this, but I just want to close the loop on it. And that was we've talked about that temporary crossover at Myers Drive. And when we initially talked about it, it was going to be for U-turns and left turns into Myers Drive. Pete, and I think at the time Chuck, also brought up some possible issues with the left turn into Myers Drive for trucks that would then try to make the right into the Rio Hills Shopping Center. And in working with Pete and Dave, that temporary crossover is going to be pulled back to the south and will just be there for U-turns and not for the left turn into Myers Drive. But what that'll do during the 103 days will pull the U-turn a little closer to Rio as opposed to going all the way out to Woodwood. So that shift will be made. There was a comment that if additional funds were available within the design build package to consider 4-lane bridge structure at Berkmar as opposed to the 2 lanes. And Dave's going to review the project budget on agenda item 8, I think it is. And as you'll see, while we got a great value on our contract price, there's not money in the budget to do that. And in all fairness, I'm not sure VDOT would consider doing it. We had a long talk about that with the chief engineer his primary concern was a 4-lane bridge would create a maintenance issue for perhaps some 20 years. I can kind of see both sides of that, but the money's not there, so it's not an issue. Are there any, just go back a minute to that last page, if you don't mind. 5, yeah. Does that close us out on these issues? Okay, go ahead. I do want to take time to just go through these. I'll try not to linger on them, but I think it's important to review the comments that were made on the 30% plans. And you know, this deal of commenting on 30% plans is not something that happens. I mean, there's been some concern that, gee, design build, this stuff is done in a vacuum, in a back room, and nobody gets to see anything. Well, there's nobody reviewing 30% plans on any project. I mean, all this stuff happens in the public eye with a much more conceptual stage of completion and not actually design plans. And I'm sure that for a couple people, when you went there and maybe took a look at them, you thought, oh, what is this? You know, well, it is what it is. Those are the 30% engineering drawings. Morgan had a half dozen comments, Pete had a comment, and Karen and Simon Properties had another good handful of comments. And we'll go through Morgan's first, and if you want to touch on anything I leave out, please do it. Morgan made a comment about it would, you know, he didn't see the full proposed crosswalk layout on these 30% of this first submission, and those crosswalks will be included on the roadway and bridge plans when we see the 60% plan. So they do need to be there, and they will be there in the next submission.
Well, can you remind us approximately when the 60% submission is due?
We're going to see that because it's one of the questions.
Got it.
Oh, but Dave, give them just a little bit of information on what does VDOT look for in a 30% submission? What is a 30%?
A 30% submittal really has your big items that we need to make sure that we're collectively heading in the right way with regard to right-of-way impacts, concepts. So not all the intricate details, such as a crosswalk, would necessarily be needed to be on the 30% plans. The design builder or designer in a design bid build type project really should be focusing on those major project elements to make sure that their understanding of the VDOT's vision for the project is correct. And I think that the 30% plan that we saw from Lane Corman did just that, gave us that level of comfort.
Great. And I'll just say, as I said in my email, I think we can kind of presume where the locations of the crosswalk segments would be. It's just, I thought it was important because it looks like in the proposal, the length of the bridge has shortened rather significantly. I think that's a positive thing, but it also, I think, poses maybe some new challenges for the location of the crosswalks. So it may not be quite as lined up, as perpendicularly as they may have been before. So I understand we weren't going to see all the details on this set of plans, but there were things like that I was thinking we would want to start thinking about as soon as we can.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid comment. We'll be sure that in the future, those crosswalk locations are shown.
How will traffic signals be managed at the Rio 29 intersection for lane shifts? Get the S in the wrong spot. For lane shifts occurring for phase 1 daytime and phase 1 nighttime works? Because it's a very good question, because those lanes are going to move. Remember, it can only be nighttime closures during the day between 9 p.m. 6 a.m., from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There has to be that maintenance of traffic. That's a detailed piece of work that will be analyzed, and also some of those signal timing will be included in that more detailed submission as well. So I think the point is here, the 30% submission was complete. I mean, it was complete, and obviously a lot of work was done at this team's own risk, because we got notice to proceed one day, and I think 24 hours later, we had the 30% plans, which is really impressive. So that was good. Will detour routes be publicized and marked during phase one nighttime work? Right now, we don't expect there to be detours needed for the nighttime work, but that too will be subject to a final check and determination. Go ahead, Lynn. At the temporary Burkmar crossover, this would be the one south of Rio, is a single left turn lane from Burkmar to 29 northbound, from 29 northbound to Burkmar sufficient? I think the answer is yes, but the team will need to do a final detailed engineering analysis, traffic engineering analysis, to make sure that those storage lengths and turn lanes are sufficient at the temporary crossover. Are phase 3 lane closures restricted to nighttime hours? Yes. That's a yes. When will architectural details for the face of the retaining walls and bridge be available? Know how important that item is to all of us. Those will be additional details included in 60% submittal. And remember that that's something that will continue on with the casting of the panels that we'll have a chance to see as well. Pete had a comment that was darn good when it came up a couple of other places. The northern project limit is currently shown near Myers Drive. Confirmed that the additional left turn stacking capacity will be added to Woodbrook. It's really not just Woodbrook, but also 29th Place. I think as part of VDOT's review of the 30% plans, the Lane Corman folks have been advised that those project limits do need to be extended back to what we showed in the conceptual plans, and that analysis will be done to determine the length of any additional storage lanes at both Woodbrook and 29th Place. Simon had the same, Karen and Rich had that same comment. These are Karen and Rich Kelly's from Simon Properties comments now. The project limit seemed, well, that is the same comment. Number 9, will the results of the traffic analysis require dual left turn lanes, which would require additional improvements on Fashion Square mall property? And this is, they'll have a right in, right out entrance and exit at their northernmost entrance on 29. And right now there are two lanes, I think, that will neck down to a 1 lane right out. And is that?
This question is dealing with the left turn lane at the signalized intersection on the southern entrance.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. That's exactly right. This is will dual left turn lanes be needed on 29 southbound at 29th Place to turn into Fashion Square. That will remain a signalized intersection. Today, we don't believe that's necessary, but VDOT would not construct a dual left and direct traffic into an entrance that was only designed to receive a single lane traffic. So that too is going to have to be part of this final traffic engineering analysis. Thanks, Dave. Is there a gap in the easement shown near Station 52? Station is a marker, is a guide for highway designers to locate certain places on a set of plans. It's a unit of measurement. So when they say Station 52, it might be a little bit of jargon or inside baseball, but that's how units of measurement or length are described on a set of plans. There are not any gaps between the right-of-way lines and the easements at this particular area, but there are some there's some overlap shown between the Phase 1 permanent utility easements and the maintenance easement. And I think you cleared that up with them on your conference call. So there are no gaps there. There will be a retaining wall along 29. This is not the underpass, but along 29, the local lanes, between the local lanes of the Simon property, or the Fashion Square property, and they had a question about how tall was that wall, and basically, is it taller than where the property sits, or does the property sit above that? Wall's about 3.5 feet tall, and it is a retaining wall in that bank, right? That's what I thought. So the mall property sits higher than the roadway, and the exposed face of the wall will be on the roadway side. So it's not blocking the sight of what you see today is how you'll view that in the future. And if you're on Fashion Square Mall property, you won't be looking at the back of a retaining. They asked for some cross sections, or if you take a piece of roadway and were to stand on one side of the road with a big saw and cut it in two, and then look at it from the end, that's a cross section. It shows you how the lanes look from an elevation point of view, looking across the roadway. And Rich wanted to see the cross sections in this area, and Dave sent those in a PDF off to Karen and Rich. Is the proposed stormwater management easement on the Belt property no longer required? You'll recall that that was one of the early spots of a possible stormwater retention area, and they noticed that it wasn't on the 30% plans, and that's because it's no longer needed. So that went away. This was one I was thinking of earlier. The Fashion Square, the northernmost Fashion Square right out, next down from like 3 lanes to a single right turn lane to 29 northbound. And they made the observation that that might require some channelization to get those cars out and channeled correctly on the 29. And that's right, it may require some reconfiguration of that entrance, and that's something that we'll have to, we'll need to address, and will. There was a drainage structure shown, and none of this is a surprise to these guys. Okay. There was a drainage structure shown at this same northern entrance, and Rich wanted to know if that could be relocated. Rather, was it going into the Fashion Square storm sewer system?
Yes.
So take it out of that and put that water into the, as well as the structure, right? Into the roadway, or would
The structure is fine.
the structure's fine, it's just where the water's going. So the water will be drained into the roadway storm sewer system. Will a queue analysis be performed to determine if vehicles will be able to exit the mall during the peak hour? In other words, we've got to right in and right out. We don't want cars stacking up in the mall property. We want to know they can get out onto the roadway. And that's part of this final traffic engineering analysis that will have to be performed to make sure that we're able to get traffic out. Go ahead. Will the signal timing at the mall's south entrance be designed to allow vehicles, kind of the same question, this is back now down at 29th Street, where they're at 29th Place, where there'll be a signalized intersection. So there'll be traffic coming out of the mall that won't be turning right, that'll be waiting to go through that signal to go across northbound 29 and turn left. And the question was, will that be designed to allow vehicles to make that left turn movement without queuing back into the mall's ring road? And the answer is yes, that'll need to be done, and that could involve signal timing. And Morgan, that was the last question that Karen wanted to know, what's the plan submittal schedule? And these are the schedule, that the 60% plans, more detailed set of plans, are scheduled to be delivered on or before June 24th of this year, and final plans, the final construction drawings scheduled to be submitted on August 7th of 2015. And if you'll recall, very early on, we talked about 3 sets of reviews, that plans would come in 3 times, and that's the roadway plans, the bridge plans, and the TMP plans. If you look on if you go back to the 30% plans, and I think it's the second sheet, it's either the first or second, it has the index, second sheet. The second sheet has a big index of stuff on it. And as these plans go through these stages, the plans will include more of those items. I think it tells you which ones aren't included in the 30%. It has a little X maybe beside that particular item. It's like a big table of contents for the submissions. And eventually, all of that will be filled out. That's a review of the comments that were received publicly or from you all on the 30% submittal. Morgan?
Are we also going to see 30% plans for Berkmar and for the widening?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
60% and final, okay.
We'll get that full schedule for you. We'll get that full schedule, Deb, and that sheet that we pulled together where we, had an idea of what we thought they might be. We'll pull that together all in one.
By the time we get to the third set for the third project, I may have some idea what I'm doing, but.
You'll be a revolution by that time.
We'll keep you from going that far. No. It is a lot of detail, and we're on a very tight time frame. I mean, these guys have single-digit days to take a complete submittal and turn it around, and that's a key to keeping our schedule. So now VDOT is going to be doing their review. If we come in a little bit behind that, that's not so bad, but we can't be 2 weeks behind it. So as Lane Corman makes submissions to VDOT, Dave's going to do what he did for us here and call out the sheets that make sense for us to review, put them in a PDF, we get them right back out to you guys, and as we collect our comments, as your comments were coming in, I was feeding them to Dave, and we'll continue to do that. Dave, you might just say a little bit about your review process, just a little bit about what happens when a set of plans comes in, how you get them out to people, get your comments back, consolidate them, and get them to Lane Corman.
Okay. We're using a relatively new system. We refer to it as a document management system. I think it's more appropriate to refer to it as a communications management system that Lane Corman is doing all their submittals through. So everything is electronic. They load the plans up to this system. We receive them. We distribute them electronically to our reviewers. And as Philip mentioned, we kind of pull out the important stuff that the panel members will be interested in reviewing, send that to you separately via email or some other form of transmittal. Our reviewers review them, develop comments, submit the comments through this communications management system. It's called KDAC. Those come back to us. A group of us reviews all the comments. We eliminate duplicate comments or comments that aren't relevant, and then we transmit that electronically back to the design builder, to Lane Corman. So it's a very efficient process. It helps us to meet our single-digit day deadlines for reviews.
9 days is what it is.
9 days, maximum of 9 days. We're shooting for half that when we can. Also, as we did this week, we held a meeting on Tuesday morning to discuss those comments and develop resolution to those comments with Lane Corman. So this is a very fast-paced process, very efficient, and it's going to help us collectively meet the project schedule.
Tell them just a little bit about co-location and over-the-shoulder reviews also.
We are going to be co-located in on the same complex with Lane Corman. Some of our key individuals, including myself, will be working in that office on a daily basis. This will help us when they have questions, instead of sending a letter or sending an email, they can say, hey, can you come look at this real quick? And we'll refer to this as over-the-shoulder reviews to help them keep moving forward and not get bogged down and take days or weeks to answer a question, but answering it in a matter of minutes or hours. So again, that's part of the process of speeding up this review process. We do have a very strong partnering arrangement with Lane Corman, and that takes commitment on our end as well. You know, some of our daily lives are changing as a result of these projects.
Henry? Yes, sir.
I failed to send your emails, but I have questions.
Okay.
The first question I have is, I see the utility easement, especially on the west side, actually the southwest quadrant, is wide enough that probably another lane of road could go in there. But the question then is, are the utilities placed so that they are on the outer edge of that easement, rather than being placed somewhere where an additional lane someday when it gets added will require another move of the utilities, even if the easement is good?
The utility owners are very particular about how their utilities are placed within their easements. They want them generally placed in the center of the easement so that for future maintenance, if they have to come back and for some reason dig it up, they don't have to get additional easement from a property owner that is there. I mentioned partnering with Lane Corman, but we're also working in a very good partnering relationship with the utility owners. And we're respecting their requirements. They require 10 feet, and we're generally trying to get.
It's very hard to look at these drawings at this scale without a magnifying glass. They're hard to look at it even at the real scale. But nevertheless, my concern is, my crystal ball tells me that there'll be a third lane someday, where there are 2 lanes right now in that quadrant, and will the utilities have to be relocated again the day that VDOT decide that a third lane is necessary?
I think that's a question for that day.
Well, I'm just asking.
Well,
I guess the answer is no. That day they may have to relocate again.
Some utilities can be located underneath of travel lanes. Some utilities are currently obviously located under travel lanes. There may be situations where those utilities can remain in their location to be underneath of a travel lane. It's on a case-by-case basis. There may be certain situations based on technology that some of those utilities may have been abandoned at that time.
Okay, well, fair enough. I think that lane will, long after my time, will show up there.
Hopefully after mine.
Okay. And the other thing is, I try to compare the longitudinal cross-section with the very preliminary plan, and this shows a very steady, very almost level slope, straight line. And now I see a trough here under the bridge. You go up, you go down, you go under the bridge, you go back up.
Yes.
And potentially you can have 4 feet of water sitting in there someday.
This was not disallowed by the RFP, the request for proposals. Lane Corman used that to their advantage as a way to shorten the length of the retaining walls, the depressed roadway, and the width of the bridge. I'll call it width, that's what it truly is. We did have certain requirements in there that they have to design to a higher threshold, a higher storm event, to ensure that if we have a 50-year storm, for instance, that storm sewer system can handle it. We don't get ponding water. They're also required, we refer to that as a sump condition, sump.
Yeah.
They have flanking inlets there, so if an inlet gets clogged, there's another inlet located close by that can serve as a relief valve, so to speak.
I noticed you have 6 inlets there.
Yes, sir.
Underpasses designed like this are notorious for eventually flooding. All you need is right combination of snow, ice, and then heavy rain.
Or poor design as opposed to meeting design requirements for
Well,
for stormwater.
I kind of, I'm surprised to find this here, quite frankly. I realize it shortened the walls, I've noticed. But it's a trade-off, like everything in engineering is a trade-off. But it's a trade-off that surprised me.
I didn't catch that in the review. I don't get paid to sit and read these things, and I know Henry doesn't either. I just haven't had the time to dive into them, and I don't know that I would know what I was looking at if I did. But to dovetail on what Henry's saying, I mean, that's a pretty significant change to what we've seen in the architectural and the pretty, blue sky pictures that we've seen up here. Is there going to be a period at which these changes become public? We've had a lot of town hall meetings and stuff like that. I mean, are these going to go up on billboards somewhere at some point where the public can be brought into the loop on some of these changes as they occur?
I don't believe so. I mean, there are no more, well, there's no more design hearings, and I guess you could look at this as a significant change. I think if we did another visualization drive-through, you wouldn't know which one was which.
Is that right?
Oh, I think you would see a
Yeah.
substantial difference. You're dropping 8 feet at one point. You're going up, and then within 350 feet, you drop 8 feet. You definitely would see a big.
Guess what I'm saying is more
Am I right?
more kind of 30,000 foot view.
Mhm.
What I'm seeing is the part of the project that went through have a lot of clear and colorful and pretty pictures, and then when the details come out, there are very few people that can read them. So we're posting them for public consumption, but unless you're an engineer or do this for a living or spend hours and hours and hours learning it, very few people are going to be able to digest what they're seeing and understand what could be significant changes. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know.
Right.
My point is, I think we owe it to the public.
Yeah.
If we're going to say we're being transparent,
Uh-huh.
I think that we should have some stages at which point we take an extra step to disseminate some of these changes.
Yeah, we did that.
In a layman's term.
We did that for the CTB before they voted, and of course then we weren't able to meet March the 5th. Now I'm not going to remember the bridge width has gone from about 200 or 350 feet to a little under 200, right, almost 200 feet. And I also can't remember the reduction, 350 feet shorter, the approaches. Round numbers, on each side, well, on the
One
south
side,
side.
it's about 200 feet, and the other side, it's about 150
Yeah,
feet.
yeah. All within what was allowed and permitted in the RFP. So by reducing the bridge, reducing the length of the approach, the total approaches, the wall length is reduced, and there's less to excavate, right? I mean, there's less to excavate.
There's no question about that.
Mhm.
The question is the trade-off a good trade-off where you have essentially a little bit of a roller coaster situation and a potential for flooding? And I'm not VDOT,
Right.
make that decision, but if I had to be involved in that decision, I would scratch my head a long time before I go along.
Well, the contract speaks for itself. I mean, that decision was evaluated, and it's acceptable within the limits. It was contemplated within the specifications for the request for proposals.
Okay, so
And the
request,
proposal
it
meets.
was already in there,
Yes.
but nobody ever told this panel that it was there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's the
Then
fact,
okay.
right?
Okay.
The factor that here was some sense.
No, we talked about the RFP for I don't know how many meetings, and it's been up on the website. And yes, this is a change that you may use your vocabulary to express it one way. It's within the requirements for the request for proposals, the technical requirements, the submission from all three teams met all technical requirements specified in the RFP, The technical proposal from the selected team has been reviewed by the project engineers and complies in every way with the requirements for the RFP. Will be a shorter approach to the underpass.
May I be curious, did all three teams propose the trough, or did just this team propose the trough?
All three teams proposed an underpass.
No, I'm talking about the trough.
I'm talking about the underpass.
The underpass, obviously, they had to.
Okay, then all three teams proposed a trough.
That's my question, yeah. This dip that's right here.
All three teams didn't propose the same design.
Okay, so some teams did, or
The
one
trough
team
is the winner.
Okay.
The trough is the winner, and it'll be what will be constructed. Now, we could put up what we did for the CTB. We weren't able to do in our March meeting. We had, I think, reviewed with them the length of the concept and how the submittal from Lane Corman reduces the length of the bridge and reduces the approach. It does not increase the likelihood of flooding, and that's an incorrect presumption.
I beg to disagree.
Appreciate your opinion.
Yes. Is VDOT staff satisfied that drainage will work with this design?
The staff has decided that drainage meets all the requirements for the design.
I was going to say, it seemed, I looked at it, and I didn't see an issue with it. So I guess it is a question of the significance. It met at least the best I could tell, met the geometric design standards for the roadways. And I think 99% of the people going down the road will never even notice.
I have lived in some larger metropolitan areas where they have underpasses with a trough. And generally, when there's flooding in an underpass, it's always an underpass like this, with this design. Now, it doesn't mean that this design will always cause flooding, but this design can cause flooding under the right circumstances of snow, ice, debris, you name it, all kinds of conditions.
Okay, thanks. Pete?
And I'm not saying, wasn't speaking specifically to the underpass issue, but could we, moving forward, as the plans develop, house some sort of a update of the larger differences in what we had seen, and as the project changes a little bit, I think we should be able to communicate that.
I think we could do that probably at our next meeting. I don't think I think we know where the primary differences are.
That'd be great.
From the concept.
Retaining walls on the outside and stuff like that. Just, I mean, again, I'm not saying I'm for or against anything. I'm just saying that I think we have a responsibility to keep communication open, even though we've got all the hearings taken care of and got all the votes in place. But the public should not be surprised by something that's different from what they had seen.
Yeah, we can do that.
I just think
we can do that.
Okay.
Sure.
I would just try to add to that a little bit. I feel comfortable, VDOT's good with it. I'm by far not an engineering or anything. But I think what would help is if in layman's terms too, we could see what it looks like in a simplified fashion. And if it's no difference between now and prior, I feel really good in transparency. We've kind of proven that. But when I look at these engineering drawings, it doesn't help me.
I will say this though, and this is important. We talked about it a couple times before. We're doing something here that's not normally done. I mean, we are inside the grinder watching this being put together. What's happening here, from an engineering design point of view, there's nothing different happening. What's happening is we're part of it. And that is a difference. I mean, we're not going to see the 60% submittal turned into a concept drawing. We're going to see more stuff on these plan sheets. We're going to see them get more crowded with more lines and stuff and calculations and curve data, stuff that is not going to mean much to a lot of people that are looking at it. So we won't be taking them and turning them into just pictures like you can do at a concept stage. But I think the message I'm hearing is, okay, we had a concept that drove the development of an RFP. Then we had an RFP that had went through three versions. Right? We had an RFP that went through three versions, and that final version specified the technical requirements for the submittals and it encouraged innovation and variation. And now we have a winner and a design that meets all of the technical requirements. And what I think I hear is, let's go back to the key elements of the concepts, the allowable variations, and let's say what we have. You know, and it's correct to me, well, the fact that we have a retaining wall because we're nibbing into that bank, which is what you look at when you drive by Fashion Square now. When you drive on 29 North by Fashion Square, you don't see Fashion Square, you see a bank with trees on it. Well, you're going to see what I think is a short retaining wall, and that retaining wall keeps you from getting further into the bank or into their property. And I think we could probably catalog darn near all of those things now.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that we catalog every brick.
Yeah, no, not everyone. No, I got you.
As things
Yeah.
differ from the architectural
Yeah.
sales pitch that was, kind of done, I just think it would be fair to kind of track how it changed.
Sort of like the car you buy versus how you hear about it.
Well, the car you want.
I'm just using the sales pitch now. Yeah,
If
yeah.
everybody comes in on the high price.
Right, right.
And they want
But
to
sure,
pay $99.
I think we can do that. I mean, I know we can do that. That's but taking the drawings themselves is going to get more confusing instead of. And we'll have the design team here with us too. We're not going to cover everything today that they have. They will be here. They'll be able to address these issues as we go along. But Dave and I are going to sit down with those concepts, and because remember, even the concepts changed. I think we had 3 different concept versions. We had 3 different visualizations.
In some details, like the 3.5-foot wall,
Mhm.
I expected a wall to be there. I just
Yeah.
didn't know if it was 3.5 or 6, okay? But I knew you were gonna have it. So
Yeah, yeah.
So that's not the question. This is more substantial, and I understand the trade-off completely. That there was a substantial trade-off, and apparently it wasn't the technical submittals, and we never heard about it. Okay?
Can I?
I think it's substantial.
Yeah, I don't want us to bog down in this. So if we can close the loop on it.
Yeah,
That's good.
just a little more clarification of how this evolved. We had proprietary meetings, you'll recall, with each of the offers. The RFP was rather silent on this issue. It was brought to our attention that we would like to investigate this as an option. We actually did change it in one of the addendums to the RFP, where we allowed a sump condition, a sag, within the limits of the retaining walls. We conditioned it with, you can do this, but you have to design it to a certain year storm. You have to, include other hydraulic elements that would ensure that it met the requirements of not only the standards and specifications, but the hydraulics manual, VDOT's hydraulics manual, which is what we have to design to. Anything beyond that is a preference on VDOT's part. So as long as a designer is designing to those standards, then we can accept that as a viable solution. And this was part of the process of innovation that they came up with. And it was also highlighted as a change in the addendum. Each addendum highlighted any language that changed from the previous version. So it was highlighted in there. Now, we didn't specifically want to shout it from the rooftops because Lane Corman, this was one of their unique ideas that, they wanted credit for it, they wanted to take advantage of it. So it does meet all of our standards and specifications. It meets safety requirements. We discussed it with Joel as the residency engineer who is responsible for maintenance within the county on VDOT roads.
The Federal Highway Administration.
Federal Highway Administration, and the key to not having flooding there is doing good maintenance. And if there's cities, counties, towns, state DOTs that aren't doing good maintenance and their facilities are flooding, then they probably ought to be looking at their maintenance program more than their design program. So, just a few key thoughts there.
Who's responsible for the maintenance on the storm water impacts of these projects?
Joel.
Okay. So
You don't see 29 flooding very often.
You pick up the tab?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious if the county is taking on any long-term.
No, it's we have headquarters throughout the county, and they're responsible for the maintenance, cleaning out, making sure that DIs stay clean and they're properly
Sure,
drained.
because there'll be a lot of moving parts in this.
Yeah, and this is really, this is a sump condition with a vertical curve, but it's not that different than a lot of other sump conditions on 29. You have some walls on it, but really, when you get to 6 inches of water, which is your normal curb height, you're not going through that anyway.
And here,
So having walls on the other side is really insignificant. If you have other sump conditions where you have cut slopes on the other side, and the biggest challenge is where does the water go once it gets to the DIs? It's not getting it off the road. We're not having issues with flooding in these sump areas, so I'm not concerned with this.
you know what shadows do to icing conditions. You're very familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in the bridge, you have a permanent shadow.
I know the county's having, a hard time with the infrastructure now on stormwater and trying to chase that as far as the maintenance. Is there any concern about where this stuff goes after it leaves those DI? Is down the pipe? Has that analysis been done in terms of the volume coming down?
Yeah, oh yeah. Those storm pipes are all analyzed for the year flow, the velocities, the volumes, and everything.
Oh, the existing pipes that will eventually be
the
utilized.
the pipes that we have in there, those pipes are designed to the point where you have a minimum and a maximum flow. The minimum flow is to make sure that they get cleaned out every day.
Right.
We want a minimum velocity going through this pipe so debris doesn't build up in them. But yeah, those are all designed for that storm.
I'll carry it a step further. Almost all this runoff will eventually go into one of several county regional stormwater basins. We've looked at it. We've been very concerned with making sure that.
So you're going to hold them accountable?
Absolutely.
Good.
We're going to hold them accountable.
I'll bring this up in the context that the county is reviewing ways to pay for stormwater management and stormwater maintenance, and I want to make sure that the county isn't taking on any additional responsibility financially, because guess who that's going to come back?
No, we have, is this all underground?
Yes.
All underground, and we'll maintain those.
Okay. And you're comfortable?
Yeah, as far as what they've designed,
We maintain our own
we understand
basins.
they're going to design, we're pretty comfortable with the concept, and the water's going where the water's going.
And we're not adding impervious area. We're at very, very little impervious
It
area.
takes a little bit to trigger the new reg.
That's true.
Well, we're compliant with the new regulations.
That's true. Okay. I feel like we did our open discussion, but maybe not. Pete?
I've got a couple more.
Yep.
And again, I didn't know I should just email them in. I should have. I'll ask about the limits of construction, that those are being extended.
Yes.
Were covered. The U-turns moved. There's a lot of the easements that are listed and the temporary and permanent are listed as the term phase 1. I don't see anything that doesn't say phase 1. Are we comfortable that phase 1 is being shown completely? 2, when will we see phase 2, and is there a phase 3?
Okay, yeah, let me answer this question. I think there was some confusion, and I'm not going to say that the design builder didn't understand us or we didn't convey the information in probably the best way that we should have, but there was some confusion about what was phase 1 and what wasn't. That we've commented on that. That's going to be cleared up. A lot of some of those phase 1 easements that were shown are actually phase 2 temporary construction easements. A couple of them have gone away as a result of their design.
Dave, remind everybody what phase 1 was intended to do. That was it.
Phase one acquisition is for the permanent utility easements that are required for relocation of utilities in the near future, this summer, this fall. We also have some minor temporary construction easements which will allow, they're generally in the gap between the existing right-of-way and the easement, because that little gap will become right-of-way in phase two. Phase two is the acquisition of fee simple right-of-way, which you would normally consider as a right-of-way purchase, and easements required for construction of the roadway and bridge and stormwater management facilities. So phase one is only utility relocation.
Okay. And so when will the property owners see phase two?
Well, generally, when you say see phase two, you mean on the plans, or when will somebody be contacting you to procure right-of-way?
Yes.
Okay. The 60% plan should show solidly that phase two right-of-way acquisition. There's not a great deal of actual right-of-way. There's some easements, temporary construction easements, a few permanent maintenance easements. So sometime in June, I think you'll start seeing that information. Acquisition would happen later in the fall, I believe, is when somebody might be contacting you about that. So you'll have an opportunity to review it on the plans before somebody contacts you about the right-of-way.
Okay. So I imagine the acquisition, I mean, I'm just guessing this, but I would imagine the acquisition can't happen until the design's complete.
Until right-of-way is approved.
Which incorporates the design being complete or not?
Well, not all of these.
60%.
60%.
60% is when they can happen.
If we are comfortable that their right-of-way is not going to change.
Right.
And that's the way it's being submitted and reviewed as a right-of-way submittal, we can't approve acquisition of right-of-way before the final completion of the plan.
Okay. So just 2 phases?
2 phases for right-of-way.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
3 phases for design. Those last elements are generally your touch-up, your architectural treatments.
Right. I'm just right now. I'm just concerned about right-of-way and when how many phases. So.
Yes, 2 phases of right-of-way.
Grading. I guess I would ask a question about the grading along 29. It's a technical question. We can get to it at some point, but with regard to Colonial Auto Center, it's happening on the southwest with the retaining wall. I had the same thought Henry had in terms of you got to deal with that somehow. Or is that going to? Let me restate the question. There are a lot of examples that I've seen in researching construction projects like this, how temporary easements can result in unexpected grade changes that are left after the fact. Is there any concern on project from that standpoint? Meaning, are the grades going to change significantly and not? What are the responsibilities of the contractor to retain the existing grades in those temporary easements?
A temporary construction easement has to be returned to its original condition when it's abandoned.
And grade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, there are some nuances.
Unless it's designed not to, right?
Correct.
I mean, but I don't think
that wouldn't be a temporary, would it? I mean, they'd have to.
Well, it could be a temporary easement, but say, for instance, as a property owner, you wanted a change, and it was advantageous to the design builder to construct that change and leave it there when they were done. Those sorts of right-of-way negotiations occur.
I don't think we have any of that going in, and let's don't negotiate right away here today. I don't.
No, I wasn't.
No, I don't.
I think what you're talking about is in an urban type project, you come in, the right of way is a foot behind the sidewalk normally.
So it's not on our right of way, but it's
if you raise or lower the grade significantly on that road due to design, basically bringing it up to standard, you might have a slope. It's a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 slope. Now that slope will be constructed within a temporary easement many times, and then that temporary easement's gone, and you do have a slope there where it might not have been quite so steep. That's normal in an urban project. In this case, Ryder Road is not really changing grade so much. It's getting out, and you'll have some small retaining walls in these areas, like on Fashion Square Mall and those areas. But you won't see a lot of. You're not going to see major changes to the grade, like where where you're raising the pavement 5 feet or 6 feet on those outer lanes, because Ryder Road's pretty much staying at the same grade as today.
Yeah.
So you can have slope changes in the temporary easements that revert back to property, but I don't think you're gonna see a lot of that in this project.
And I was also thinking about the steepness of where the right-of-way.
We typically
our
try and
right-of-way
keep-
meets.
Yeah, the design of those typically
Yeah.
is supposed to be
The
3-to-1 or flatter, and that's done in those temporary easements because for mowing purposes, it's easy to mow 3-to-1 or flatter, so that's normally where the urban typical section is designed to.
I guess the cross sections.
They'll show
on that. Maybe I could get the cross sections or we could post them. If
Yeah.
if they're available to share, then
Yeah,
that'd be
we could
great.
post them.
We could see what that.
Can we strip out the?
I can't tell you that I'll understand them.
Well, but I mean, in your particular case, as one of the property owners,
Right.
you should feel free to ask me questions you want to ask, and, you know.
I'm done. I've had my piece. Thank you.
Okay. Morgan? Mark? Mayor? Chris? Henry? I'm going to have Dave do, well, no, first I'm going to finish with item 5. But we'll do item 5, Dave's going to do item 6, and then, as long as you all are okay with it, I'm going to ask Lane Corman to go ahead and let's pull their piece up, because I don't want to miss you having an opportunity to meet them. This will finish us up for what has been this standard agenda, standing agenda item, because to keep it up here will be redundant now. All these dates have passed, the notice, the contract is executed, the notice to proceed has been issued, and we are finished with this procurement process that we started back in July with the RFP, and just here publicly, Dave, John, Joel, Hal, Ken, guys back in the central office, I'd like to give them a big thank you, because we never let them move. We moved a couple of dates, as you'll recall, for technical proposal submittal and price proposal, but we never moved the end. And they've either hit or beat every date, and there were more than a few of them a few days when people wanted to move dates, and we just didn't let it happen. And the result really paid off. So that'll finish that piece for our agenda item. Dave, why don't you do the update that you have, and then we're going to jump to agenda item 11, okay, after he finishes.
Okay, I'll be as brief as I possibly can. A lot has happened over the past month since the last time we met, but just to bring everybody up to speed, starting with the Route 250-29 interchange project that did begin construction at the beginning of March after a couple weeks of bad weather that prevented them from starting earlier. The initial construction consisted of clearing the southwest quadrant, that loop area, which many of you have probably seen some equipment out there to pave the way, so to speak, for the construction of the stormwater management basin. Current construction includes the grading and pipe installation for that stormwater management facility. There will be some lane closures starting tonight. The Route 29 right lane, the ramp going to 250, and the Route 250 right lane will be closed beginning at 9, at the earliest 9 p.m. tonight, but probably slightly later than that, for installation of lane striping. There'll be lane closures at nighttime on Monday and Tuesday to install a barrier wall for the contractor to work behind, so that they can begin working on the construction of the retaining wall along that ramp between the ramp and the Best Buy building. And also widening of the Route 29 southbound median will begin in the next couple of weeks. On the adaptive signals, the project continues on schedule. The majority of the infrastructure has been installed to date. Work this week includes installation of junction boxes and conduit between Town Center Drive and Airport Road, and beginning of the reconstruction of the signal at Route 29 and Woodwork Road. This is an old signal design that's scheduled to be replaced, so we're moving it up to help the MOT during the construction of the Rio Grade Separated Intersection project. And if you recall, in the adaptive signals phase 1 work, that really started at the southern end of the project at the city-county line. So now they're all the way up to Airport Road working, so they're finishing up this phase 1, and that should be completed very soon. Hillsdale Drive extended, VDOT's right-of-way work for the U.S. Post Office property. We've submitted the initial package to the post office for review. We've done the evaluation on the properties and the appraisal reviews. And I don't know if Chris has anything to add to that, but that's, the design continues on schedule is what I'm hearing. Okay.
We are looking to set up a meeting with the city, just to sit down and talk through Hillsdale a bit. I don't know if we need to work through you on that.
I can help.
Okay,
Great.
thanks.
Now kind of lump the 3 design build projects together because they are progressing kind of as one project. As Philip mentioned, we did issue notice to proceed on March 4th, so the procurement was completed at that time. Lane Foreman Joint Venture has begun field exploration, generally at nighttime, including surveying, geotechnical exploration, utility test holes, environmental and traffic data collection. Lane Foreman, as we've discussed and all of you are aware, did submit the 30% Rio Road roadway and bridge plans. Those have been reviewed, comments returned. We held a comment resolution meeting. The Route 29 widening 30% plans are expected in mid to late April. I think, Morgan, you asked about that. That's the next package that will come in. Workmore will be a little bit behind that. I believe in early May is when we expect the Workmore plans. Utility relocations for the Rio Road Grade Separated intersection are anticipated to begin in late April or early May. I can give a utility easement update now, or is that?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Just a quick update on the acquisition of utility easements at the Rio Grade Separated intersection project. 20 of the 30 total parcels will be certified by March 20th, and certifying means that's when we have the ability to enter those properties as the official owner of the easement. 8 parcels will be filed next week. The 2 remaining parcels are parcels that actually changed ownership during this easement acquisition process. So we had to go back, negotiate with the new owner, have a certain period of time for them to consider the offers. So those are lagging behind a little bit. And that's where we stand on the utility easement update.
You said 2035 by when?
20 of the 30 parcels will be certified by March 20th.
That's fine. 30.
So that's tomorrow.
That is tomorrow.
Yeah.
How many settled?
I believe it was 6. The last I've heard is 6 accepted the offers. There may have been a couple more, but I haven't had an update since Tuesday.
And you need all,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
and you need all of those before the utility relocation can start?
We don't need all of them before those efforts can start, but we will have all of them in hand before the relocations do start.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly we'll have, as I mentioned, the utility relocations are expected to start in late April, early May. We'll be done well ahead of that date.
All right, thank you.
I'll poll you all before the 60% submittal, and if you'd like to get maybe a half size, I don't know if you want a full size set of the drawings, but if you want a full size or a half size set of the drawings, we'll produce them and send them to you.
I'll do better with a full size.
Yeah, trust me, I'm in the same.
But as you said.
But I'll poll you.
Here, on the
as we get.
30%, I found what to me are surprises.
Mm-hmm.
At the 60%, as you say, we'll get details on the curbs and the reinforcing rods and stuff that is probably not that important. So I don't know.
Well, I'll poll you before. I'll poll you before we get there. I did the same thing. I used my Zoomer on the computer to review them, but I'm used to doing it, maybe.
Well, the thing is, it gets a little bit hard. You zoom it, but then you lose context with what else is.
Well, yeah, you have to remember a lot of
I
things.
know.
Of course, I still imagine the smell of ammonia every time I see a set.
Oh, yeah. I'm missing that. Most people may not know
I
what
miss
that
it.
is. Yeah.
Most of you all know what we're talking about there.
I miss it.
You understand the blue line.
Okay. Okay, or whoever's going to present, let's go ahead and go up to item 11. Well, like radar. Okay. Come on, please.
Well, my name is Wallace Alphin. I'm the design build project manager. This is introduction time, so I'm introducing myself. I'm a native son of Albemarle County. I was born in Albemarle County, raised in Culpeper on a farm. Decided that I didn't want to stop on my way down south to Blacksburg, where I got my education, so don't hold that against me.
We're a small club.
Yeah.
We're a small club.
So I came back and forth on 29 quite often. Throughout my formative years, spent a lot of time in Charlottesville. Recently, my daughter decided to stop in Charlottesville and get her education. So I've spent a lot of time in Charlottesville. I know quite a bit about this part of the roadway that we're getting ready to build. Not my first time building roadways in the state of Virginia. Not my first time building roadways on Route 29. Built the intersection right in Culpeper at the 29 bypass 29 business. Recently, I've been working on the hot lanes in Northern Virginia. Started out building the HOV, which is the Phase 8 portion of the Springfield interchange. I don't know how many people go through 495, 95, but all the bridges that twist around, I had a part in that. And then most recently, the 95 express lanes, a piece of property that, a piece of roadway that extends from right at the Arlington line down to Stafford, 30 miles of corridor, where we were maintaining and working day-night shift, weekend shifts, a lot of MOT, couple 300,000 vehicles per day going by you all the time. So a lot of what we're getting ready to do on this particular project, we've got a lot of experience at. So I think we've got an excellent team. A lot of people from Lane organization are folks off of that 95 project. A lot of them have a great deal of expertise associated in making sure that we are mindful of our erosion controls, or are mindful of the MOT, mindful of the traveling public. So it's something that we're doing, something we know how to do. One of the most important things is mindful of being safe. And I think, I want to recognize them for, what they've done in that respect. From the time that I was on 495 working on Phase 8 until recently finishing up the 95 hot lanes, we had over 9 million safe man hours of time without a lost time injury. That's a significant amount of people working and being safe, so I think that's critically important as well. So the things I want to go over is just the organization, the key leaders, design status, and some schedule milestones. So
Each of you have a copy of this
Yeah.
at your desk. or at your-
this has been out in our proposal for some time now. I don't think anything there is new. Hopefully y'all are aware of it. Some of the make it a little larger so we can see it. Some of the principal people associated with this, top is Kim Prince. He's with us here today. He's project sponsor. Ryan Gorman, the responsible charge engineer, he's also with us. Myself, Barry Bernstein, is not here today, but he's the construction manager on the project. Dave Colbert is our quality control manager. Stephanie Powers is the local area safety manager. Avatar Singh will be our quality assurance manager. Owen Perry is with us. He is a design manager with RKK. Some of the element leaders, Ryan Masters will be working on the RIO portion of the project. Michael Russell on Berkmar Drive with WRA. John Giametti as the 29 widening lead. And then Chris Reed is our public relations manager.
Wallace, would you take just a minute and tell them what it means to be in Ryan's shoes as the responsible professional engineer?
Maybe I'll let Ryan say what it's like to be in his shoes.
I think that's important to say.
Basically, it means that I hold all professional liability for the project.
What's your phone number?
He's putting himself as a registered professional engineer in a position of serious accountability. And this goes to some of the things that we were talking about earlier. Serious accountability as far as his license goes for responsible engineering aspects of this project. And is this something that VDOT does on every construction project now?
They do first.
We do now. This was the first, though. This was the first VDOT construction project. Always when VDOT hires a designer, there's a responsible professional engineer. But this was the first construction project where VDOT required the contractor to have a responsible professional engineer in charge. A professional engineer in responsible charge, I think, is the way you phrase it, which is serious business for a person that holds a professional engineering license. Thank you.
Some of the things y'all have already seen, but I want to just give you a heads up as to where we're at. The early works designs, as we've talked about already numerous times, you've seen the RIO, road, bridge, MOT erosion plans, all submitted on the 5th. Designs are proceeding with the other two segments. 29 widening, in fact, we got a download on that 2 days ago. We're reviewing it, doing our constructability comments on that. We are shooting for early April timeframe for submission on 29 widening. Berkmar, we're talking about that as on a regular basis. Some of the things that you've seen out on the project, current field investigation is ongoing on all segments. Geotechnical drilling, utility test holes, surveys, stakeout, wetland stream delineation, and cultural resource surveys. So that's what we're doing right now. As far as quality, one of the key components to a project is doing it right first time. And a key aspect, we had a meeting down at Culpeper District on Friday in which we basically dedicated 3 hours of all of our time discussing quality. The quality plans were represented to everyone, and the key to quality, one of the key components to quality was communication. There's certain required meetings that we have to go through. One of the mainstays, and one of the things that we did during the Hot Lanes project was preparatory meeting, in which every component, every element, discipline of the work that we're doing, we bring the subcontractor, or if we're working in-house to do the work, we bring everybody in. We discuss a certain list of requirements, copy of one of the preparatories here with me, where we're going over the specifications that are associated with that discipline. We're verifying that the plans have been approved for that discipline. We're making sure all the permits are obtained. We're making sure that all the materials have been submitted and everybody's using the proper materials. We have a safety discussion on how the discipline is going to be done. We check and talk about how the discipline will impact erosion and what the environmental component is. So we're trying to make sure everyone knows exactly what they're doing to mitigate problems. There's a required monthly progress meeting on quality with the department. There's issue resolution meetings that are scheduled on a bi-weekly basis, and then a weekly QCQA staff meeting. And the other component is the inspection stages. The first component of that is the preparatory phase inspections. Again, that would be starting with that preparatory meeting. Intermediate phase inspections, that's as work is ongoing, the completion inspections, and then the punch list inspections. Safety overview, safety is our job one. We need to make sure that the working staff that come to the project leave the project the same way they came. The objective is to build projects safely. The other goal is to build projects safely for the traveling public. That's a key component to anything that we do. So this is just a summary of industry standards, and then to give you an idea as to where Lane ranks in those standings and where Coleman ranks in those standings, so that you can see, we're well below any of the industry averages, and our objective is to make sure that those statistics are even lower.
0.56 is an extraordinary experience modification rate. I mean, most companies would kill for that. Yeah. And the premiums are also accordingly lower, so that's excellent. 0.74 is more normal, average.
Thanks.
That's very good. I hope you can keep it up. That's all.
No, we do
It's
too.
very good. It's very good. Thank you.
We do too. Some milestone dates. A lot of these you, again, already have seen. Notice of receipt was the 4th. The scope validation period is going to end on July 1st of
Talk
this year.
about that a little bit, Wallace, and tell them what that means.
What we're doing is verifying that the assumptions that we made in preparing the proposal are correct. There's certain data on the project that could not be obtained without access to properties. So a lot of the geotechnical data specifically, as we go through and verify what the existing soil conditions are associated with the project, that will either determine whether our assumption is correct or will determine whether our assumptions were not correct. And if we find out that there is something that is different from our assumptions, then we'll be notifying the department of that. Clear enough?
There's one thing I'm wondering, for the next 12 months, essentially on this piece of paper, there are only like 3 benchmarks. And I wonder if there shouldn't be maybe some intermediate benchmarks.
But these are strictly scheduled milestones.
Yeah. Well, big
There's a
ones.
lot of, and they're big.
Yeah.
They're very, very broad.
Right.
There's milestones we go through daily, internal to our organization. We could have when we're starting construction, such and such location, when we're starting construction, when a phase on 29 widening is a multi-phase project, and we're still trying to, play around with the design there to determine how we can mitigate a lot of the impacts as we get information in from our test hole data on the utilities, on our geotechnical data. We get more information, we can tweak that design and determine the best way to build a project. So milestones will be changing. They're constantly evolving based upon as we develop information. But yeah, I would agree. This is super broad.
Right, we will build this out. There's a 15-page, small print schedule that takes us through all three projects.
He's a detail man.
Henry is a detail man.
I'm thinking we could add him to the staff.
But we will.
Bill got us used to this.
Go with that. But no, we'll build some key
Bill
models.
came back every 2 weeks and told us that these little charts, we saw them. So now we're used to this, so we need our,
Right.
our shot.
We need to replace that. Yes, I agree.
Maybe not as detailed, but somewhat that
Yeah.
we know if you're on schedule, essentially, that's
Right.
really what we want to know. Okay.
Anyway, the big picture items on here, the start of construction on the 12th, the start of the Route 29 Rio closure period is May 23rd, and that's something that these guys dream about right now, is how to get prepared and ready for that time period. The interim milestone for completion of August 4th, but no later than the September 2nd of 16th date. The final completion date on Rio of December 2nd, and then the final completion dates on both Route 29 widening and Birkmar the latter part of October.
So you're already targeting about a 30-day jump on
Anything we
3
can
days.
do to add a day is what we're trying to do. I
good.
think that's what Dave is committed to. That's what we're committed to.
When you say final completion up there, you mean final or just substantial completion?
Pretty sure these are our final completion dates.
Yeah. Yeah, done. C5.
I think
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
kind of open to, if there's some questions we can help you out with right now. Yeah.
Will your organization or your partnership bring all the necessary staff to the project, or will you do any local hiring when you're here?
The plan is to do local hiring. We're going to be bringing most all of our foremen, superintendent, engineering level staff are all going to be brought to the project. But the trade, the operators, the laborers are all going to be local hires.
Will there be a job fair?
That's the game plan right now, is to have some sort of fair or sign up or whatever for.
Any sense of the scale, the magnitude of that need? Is it 10 people? Is it 100?
It really depends on exactly how much we ultimately end up wanting to subcontract out. And we're looking for local subcontractors as well to take on certain tasks.
If an individual or subcontractor was interested in raising their hand, how would they do that? How would they contact you, or?
That's one way to get to the right person. We have purchasing agents there in Chantilly at our corporate office to go and handle quotes.
Maybe that's some information.
What we're probably going to be doing is as design is developed, we will go and be putting out RFPs ourselves and packages for, say, the drainage on Rio or the drainage on 29 widening or, different portions of, work on Berkmar. So we'll be putting that out to as many subcontracting opportunities. One of the requirements of the project is that we meet a 13% DBE percentage participation. Some of that has already been locked down. CES, they're CES, right?
CES.
Aptar.
Quality assurance.
Yeah. We've already locked that down on quality assurance, so we're constantly trying to meet that quota.
For those of us that don't know the acronym, what's DEB?
Disadvantaged Business Enterprise.
Minority and women-owned businesses, which is different from
13%, is that
small
mandated by VDOT, or is that unique to this contract, or is it, I'm just curious.
It's specific to this
It
project.
varies by contract.
Yes. Our civil rights group does a calculation based on the region and the workforce and all these different components and comes to a conclusion.
I can go home and learn something today.
If you get any DOT money from the U.S., you have to. John has a DBE goal.
Wallace is not going to be a stranger as we move through this. We'll have either Wallace or Chris or someone from the project team in here frequently to move us through not just this project. I keep having to remind myself, we've got the adaptive signal work going on and we've got the work at Best Buy. I don't want to leave those out of the loop in terms of introducing you all particularly to these folks. I mean, there's a bright light shining on the, well, I guess we don't want Don Cantori to think there's not a bright light shining on the Best Buy ramp, because remember, one of the key recommendations of this panel that was pulled into the project was that the Route 29 250 interchange work has to be finished by May 21st, 2016, before you get ready to do your work in that intersection. So while May 23rd is a big day, May 21st is marked on my calendar is even a bigger one, because they need to finish and be out of the way before we get in there. And you're not going to get in there a day late, right? That's right. Look, any other questions for Wallace today? For his team? Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot, Wallace. Appreciate it. Just a word on this quality and program and what that means in any project. Just to get these plans out the chute and hit send and transmit them to Dave isn't Owen as the design manager thinking, oh man, I got to submit my plans today. They're due. I'm going to send them. Before that happens, he's got sign-offs from different reviewers who are reviewing the sheets, checking calculations, verifying that the calculations are complete, checking off on their discipline, sending an Owen a form that said, I did my work on my piece, things have been checked and verified. All of that needs to be collected before he's going to let them go out the door. And then there's independent assurance and verification programs on the owner's part to make sure that all of this is happening, and overarching all of that specific quality control is a quality assurance program that's making sure that all the control procedures are taking place. And these aren't bureaucratic events to just make things take longer. You know, design, the result, what's ultimately built out there in the field is the result of the answer to a lot of equations, right, Henry? I mean, it's the result of a lot of equations turned in geometry turned into a picture that's turned into a project. And all of these steps of control and checking and verification are important. Where Ryan comes in on this project is rather than having all that responsible charge stop at the end of design, now that's pulled in to the construction in a serious way with designating someone as the responsible engineer in charge. So did we set another trend with that in this contract?
Yes.
As far as, well, that's good.
Yes.
I'm sure not everybody's thrilled about that. But that's good. See, Ryan, you're blazing a trail, man. Which is always dangerous or real good, whichever way that goes. No. Thank you, Wallace, and thank all of you guys for being here today. That gets us through items 6, 9, and 11. So let's go to 7. All right. The Community Assistance and Engagement Program update. I know you guys have had a lot of work going on, made a presentation to the Board of Supervisors. It's Brad. Brad. Chip.
There you go.
Hi, Brad.
I'll just touch on briefly the communications. Mark will talk about the business assistance and the discussions with the Board of Supervisors. But I put a handout at each of your spots just so you could look at it in a little bit more detail. Henry, especially, one of the things you were asking, because the milestones are so critical as to when we communicate things to the public. If we know tractors are going to be out on May 1st, we want to do certain things prior to that. So now that the proposal from the design build team is now public, we've begun to pull some milestones from that and put into this plan for the future. Don't hold these as construction milestones. We're just using them for the communication piece, and we understand they will move as the project moves, but at least it starts to give us some ideas as to when certain newspaper ads or radio commercials or what needs to hit the public based on what's happening construction-wise. So you'll start to see those in there, and we'll have this update for you by the last meeting of the month. We won't have them every 2 weeks, but prior to our last PDAC meeting of the month, we'll be able to give you an updated sheet. We give this same sheet to the Oversight Committee, who shares it with the Board of Supervisors and the City Council, and then we share with the MPO just to keep updated. But you can see, VDOT's doing a lot with radio ads, newspaper, doing a lot of even individual meetings and community meetings, and all of these are on that sheet for you. And we'll normally do just like this, where we'll pick up some of last month and as current as we can into the current month.
Okay. Mark, did you
Just
want to talk
picking up
about
on that with
March
the-
4th?
Yeah, from the March 4th board meeting, there was a discussion on possible business assistance program. It had a large number of elements on it. One of the first things that's going to come out of the chute here is, and it relates to, they were talking about the utility easements, the phase 1 utility easements. There's a number of signs that are going to have to be taken out as part of that, and we've got working through some changes with regulations there, and that's going back to the board in early May for adoption to make sure there's no gap with those businesses where the utility construction started and don't have signs. So we're looking at that. We also have another longer-term sign program that would include both signs, and these are all within this designated construction area, but signs during the construction process and even extending beyond that for possible changes. We're also taking quite a hard look now, based on the board's direction, on an enhanced permitting processes. How can we expedite the processing of permits in this construction area so people aren't being held up as far as trying to adjust and do something differently. This is actually something that matches something we've already done for specific things. So, as part of the county's economic development, we have targeted industries, and we have an approach that we've used with those targeted industries in the past. Basically, we're just taking that approach and incorporating this area rather than specific businesses for that. And so we're looking to roll that out and when we go back to the board in May as well. Communications out is a huge part of this. There's a lot of work that Lee Catlin and Chip and others are working on with that. We think we've got a pretty good approach in working with Lou as well. Excuse me, don't mean to overlook you, Lee. And then finally, there's a significant business marketing effort. How can we help get the word out to the community that businesses are still there, they're still open? What are we doing to make it as easy as possible for people to get to the businesses and recognize that they're there, still there, and still providing services?
What's the next step with the Board of Supervisors?
Going back, now that we've got direction from them on what they're interested in us doing, we're going back to them in May at their May Day meeting, May 7th, I think it is, May 6th, to outline the proposed program with them and present that. And from there, we just go ahead and get it put in place. The same meeting will be when we do this first phase on the signs that are potentially being impacted by these utilities.
Mark, is that list available?
Yeah, absolutely. It's online right now. If you go to the county's board agenda and look down there, there's an executive summary that outlines all of that.
And it specifically outlines the kind of the finished product of the March 4th meeting, the direction.
It outlines what was presented to the board.
Okay.
Associated with it, there's also, you have to go back up on the agenda, and there's a list of action items, and that will discuss what the board's direction to us was. So that'll give you the specific direction.
Do we still have a link to that? Lou, back?
Yeah, we can make sure that those links.
What I'm trying to think is, that's all out there as a PDF, right? We ought to be able to pull it off and.
You should be able to just hyperlink directly to it without any problem.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to just send that to, Mark, will you make sure we have it? And just send it to all of us while you're sending it.
All right.
Yeah, if you would.
I had seen the original kind of set of discussion points that was going to be presented. I wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I hadn't seen it resolved.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to get that there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any questions for Chip or Mark? Okay. Let's do item 8. Dave, can you? Well, this is the overall cost, breakdown of cost from the, including the construction bid and other associated costs with regard to right-of-way, utilities, contingencies, which are part of every contract, inspection, incentives, engineering cost, and right down to the cost of the state police for monitoring and safety during construction against the budget. So there's no extra money, but Dave, I know you have more detail, I guess, as far as the costs go and how they break down. Could you?
I do, and I have all of that information per project, but I think exactly what you said is correct. We had a budget that we started with of $185.5 million. That number has not changed since we started back in July. When the bids from the 3 shortlisted offers came in, there seemed to be some confusion about some potential disparity between bids. The reality of the situation is Lane Foreman's bid was where we needed it to be. And there is frequently some sometimes there's some dramatic differences between bids based on how much work a contractor has, location, different elements that, quite honestly, a lot of times we never see. That's their business. So the bid price of $116.7 million is very legitimate as far as the construction and design cost. There's a lot of other components that go into this. Right-of-way is a major component for this project collectively. For instance, Burkmar Extended is on new alignment. Our budget for right-of-way, actually, the payment that is made to a property owner is almost $14 million. There's a lot of right-of-way that needs to be acquired. Right-of-way in Albemarle County is not cheap. It's highly desirable. We have about $3.4 million worth of right-of-way that's required on Route 29 widening project, and about $5.6 million on the right-of-way GSI project, being some of the most expensive right-of-way per square foot that we'll be acquiring for these projects. So there is a major line item there at $22.9 million collectively for the three design-build projects. Contingency is something that we always include on construction projects. It's wise to have money there for changes. Wallace talked about the scope validation period. There is certainly some situations where differing site conditions come up that we were not able to go on every property and drill a bunch of holes and look at all the data. So there's some risk there. Contingency is our answer to risk. How do we account for that risk? So that number collectively is $16.3 million. We hope that we don't have to use it, but if we need it, it's there. Inspection, as Philip indicated before, VDOT is responsible ultimately for the completion of these projects, and we have a obligation to the taxpayers to make sure that we are there monitoring inspection as we do on every construction project in the Commonwealth of Virginia. There's a lot of work that's going on 3 separate project sites over the course of this project that's going to add up to a lot of money. There's things that people don't ordinarily consider plant inspection, where we send our personnel to different manufacturing plants to observe their processes and rate the quality of their products. So there's a lot of components that go into inspection. Incentives, you're all very familiar with. We've discussed this at length. There's a total of $10.3 million available for lane corpsmen. We hope that they achieve all of it. That means that they're out of the roadway a lot earlier than they otherwise would be. Everybody goes home happy. They get paid a great deal of money for their innovation and hard work, and the traveling public gets to use the facility earlier. $9 million of that is tied directly to the Rio Road grade separated intersection early completion. $1.3 million for early completion of all 3 projects. So again, it's a major component. Engineering of $6.9 million, that covers a lot of work that has occurred to date. All of our conceptual design, continued engineering work as we move forward. So all of these collectively add up to our budget. I think it's very fortunate that we received the bid that we did. We think it was right on the money. We do feel like we're getting good value for the taxpayers' dollars. And all these other components, when we added them all up, at the end of the day, equated to $185.5 million. I can go over quickly with you the construction cost, the cost to physically construct each project element. That cost for the Rio grade separated intersection project was $40.3 million. For the Route 29 widening, it was $43.1 million. And for Burkmar Extended, $33.2 million. That doesn't include, that includes all their costs. So those costs add up to the bid price.
Won't you just go over those one more time? Say them one more time.
$40.35 million for Rio, $43.16 million for Route 29 widening, and $33.23 million for Burkmar Extended.
Dave, 2 questions about the numbers, if I can.
Yes.
the contingency number, is there a formula that VDOT uses for the scope of the project to put that in, or is that just what was left after?
Well, there's not actually a formula. What we do is we go through and do a risk analysis on projects. And we determine based on the risk of the project. And some of those risks include unknowns, extensive utility relocations. Usually when we see extensive utility relocations in a small footprint, we increase our contingency to account for that risk profile. So it's not a standard formula that's used across the board for projects at VDOT, but it's tied to our risk analysis.
I've seen that number float, I mean, recently on VDOT projects from 8% to as high as 25% for projects that are not as far developed, not as far along. So what this one is.
The second thing, the right-of-way number, is that the sum of the offers, or is that the anticipate? I mean, is that somebody looking in a crystal ball and saying this is where we end up thinking we'll settle?
No, we went through and evaluated properties initially that we identified would be needed for the project. So there was a lot of actual thought that went into that. We coordinated with our right-of-way division that has extensive experience with that to develop the budget for right-of-way. And
But that doesn't just include the compensation for the property owner, but all the costs associated with the right-of-way.
It includes all of the costs associated with the right-of-way. There is administrative costs that, generally, there's a lot of work that goes into acquiring right-of-way. We have expended administrative costs, VDOT has, for the Phase 1 acquisition. The design builder will expend administrative costs in the negotiation process, appraisals, all of those items.
I was just going to say your appraisal costs, right?
And all the soft costs are
the direct payments, the majority of that $22.9 million are the direct payments to property owners for right-of-way or easements on their property.
Anticipated direct. I mean, since 6 have settled out of 30, I mean, you never know where you're going to end up.
True.
Is what I'm saying. So that number is anticipated, or the number could flip. If you got a $14 million track that you're going to go through, that's a big number, but if it swings by $2 million, the number's
Correct, but we've done the homework on that. We've developed a budget based on looking at the value of those properties at the time that we did that, with the experience of our right-of-way division personnel.
Do the construction costs, do they break out time versus material?
No, we've asked for a lump sum bid price. We have some unit costs that are locked away in a box in the bank or escrow documents that, quite honestly, we don't go back to unless we need to for some dispute.
Right.
But we've asked for a lump sum contract price, and they've given us a price of $116.7 million.
So if there's efficiencies that they gain inside that and deliver the product according to the technical requirement, that's good. Likewise, if there's inefficiencies and it costs them more to deliver the product to meet the technical requirements, that risk lies there, which is probably the major difference in the design, one of the major differences in the design build procurement.
I have a question here. Yeah. Let's say Lynn Corman had come in, still low bid, but closer to the other bidders, which would be another 20, 30 million. What would have happened? You're out of budget.
I can answer that.
Okay.
I can answer that.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
If their bid if the low bid had come in higher and would have been above this budget, and it was a responsive, responsible bid, I would have gone to the Commonwealth Transportation Board and asked for whatever amount may have been necessary to supplement it. Assuming it was if it was $285 million, that may have been a difficult discussion. But yeah, we had some. What
would have happened, because it just fits.
It did. Well, and a lot of that goes into the homework that was done on the forefront to establish the budget. we were very close.
Yeah, this has been a lot of work beforehand took place, a lot of questions that came from all the teams in these proprietary meetings where Lane Corman was able to ask a question that the other two teams, unless they asked it, weren't privy to the answer. There were the full meetings with the proposers, and then two sets of proprietary meetings, and a lot of question and answers. And I can say this, well, no, I won't say it. A lot of questions and answers from all three, teams that really helped sharpen things like how long are you going to take to review plans? Because if you're going to take your standard 21 days, that's more risk on the contractor's side. You know, if you're asking us to meet an aggressive schedule, but you guys are going to do this same thing you did on the last project, and a lot of that back and forth resulted in commitments for VDOT to prepare 50% of the utility plan, start the acquisition process, review in 9 days and not 21. So all of that, I believe, in watching all of that happen in a relatively short amount of time, really sharpened the process for everybody. Any other questions about those numbers? Utility easements we did. 8 we did. 9 we did. We talk a lot about signs and naming places and quadrants and districts. Chip said, you know, what do we know? What the heck do we know about any of this? And can we get some help? So I wanted to let you know that VDOT did, I think I mentioned to you at that meeting a month ago that VDOT had a good marketing group on staff that frankly VDOT has used since my time at VDOT and before then. Southeastern Institute of Research is under contract. They commonly or regularly do some benchmark surveys for larger projects. They did one on Springfield. They did the Richmond bridges. They're doing I-66. So they were going to do a benchmark survey on Route 29 solutions. And these aren't project selection surveys. It's not what do you want us to build, but they're, are you getting the information you need? Are you familiar with the area? Is the information helping you make behavioral changes? We caught that in time from our last meeting to ask them to add a few questions about this place naming. So they've been able to do that. They've completed their work and are compiling the results, and I've had a chance to see the preliminary results from that, but I don't want to present their independent results. I've asked them to come and do that because they are independent, and I think that independence is important. So they will be here at our April 2nd meeting, and they will give you a review of what they went out, how they selected, you know, how they did the research, how they defined their study area, the results of those questionnaires in terms of whether or not people are familiar with the area, familiar with the project, how they're getting their information, and they'll also give you whatever they've learned on this place naming issue. So Chip, I mean, thanks. It was very timely for the suggestion you made, and we were able to get that into the mill and have them do that work. So they will be here with us April the 2nd for our next
Is it all
meeting.
survey work?
It's all telephone survey.
Scientific?
Yes. These folks are.
I know they're excellent.
They're excellent. Yeah, they are. They really. When I was at VDOT, they helped us so much with when you thought you were doing the thing that you should be doing to inform the public. They could come back and say, you're just not, and really help sharpen that. They've also done an incredible amount of work on generations. And, what I think is a valuable way to receive information may not be the way Joel receives information because he's so much older than no, so they've really kind of specialized in this, not just collecting information for information's sake, but how do different generations relate to it that helps you craft your message back in a way, or your educational information back in a way that reaches everybody that you want to reach and not just some narrow view. I'm a big fan of theirs. I'm just glad that they were available, that VDOT still had them on board, and we turned them loose with it. So we'll hear from them next meeting. We did that, and I think that brings us to any new business and wrap up. I'll start with an item of new business. Henry, if you would like, I'm going to get Dave to print a full-size set of the 30% plans. We'll send them to you. And if you can look through them over the next week and you have some additional questions,
I think it's fine.
Get them in.
I just found something that I thought was big, and nobody was talking about.
But would you like to see the set?
At this stage, well, yeah, I guess
Would
I can
you?
have one.
I mean, if you would, we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Just for the fun of it.
Would
But,
would anyone else?
My concern was that it's a substantial change from the very preliminary work, and it's a little bit like the closing of Briar Road. If I don't bring it up, it's just floating out there. I'm sorry to bring this up.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that.
Because that happened with the closure, and when I mentioned it, then, oh, yes, that's item 8. So obviously, it was known to you people, but it wasn't known to the panel. Same thing with this. It was known to you that if I didn't bring it up, people would discover that once it's being built. So
okay.
I have to make that statement because I think there's a little bit of lack of communication when it comes to certain important things that are happening and are not being acknowledged. I made my point.
Okay. Chris, you ready?
Two things. One is, you talked about this with the contract status, agenda item 5.
Yes.
Being complete. I think it'd be great if we just rolled that right in and now have a design phase status and just have all the milestones associated with that.
I agree. I agree.
The other thing is, looking at the responses, a lot of the responses talk about the 60% plan.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people have already expressed some concern that it's difficult for them to always understand what it means. It might be good for this group to offer us some sort of work session where we could just spend some time together looking at those 60% plans. I mean, rather than us each individually trying to take them and look at them.
Let's think about a way to do that. Let's think about a way to do that we still do it.
I know the time
publicly. Oh, the time we'll make the time.
Hard, but
no, we'll make the time. We'll make the time.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll figure that out. We'll do that. Would everybody like? I mean, I presume everybody would like.
If you need a spot, we'll offer a spot.
Pardon me?
If you need a location.
We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out depending on when you might be in your office space. I don't know how that's moving in terms of timing. We'll figure it out, and we'll figure out a productive way to make it happen. So we'll have a design review.
Great.
A design review session.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Good idea.
Was that both of yours?
That's it. Done.
Quickly, we're getting now to the point where construction alerts are going out, like the one you sent around yesterday. And I know there's some requirements in the contract for the design builder to do some of that in terms of setting up a website and doing social media. I just want to make sure that we're moving forward on that front. Is there, for example, sort of some place where people can go to sign up for automated emails? Are we going to be having that be a component of this?
I think that's there now.
Yes, we're doing that.
Does that send out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's being done through the Route 29 Solutions website. The traffic alerts are being posted on the website. They're also being sent out each week as part of the regular Culpeper District traffic alerts that the VDOT office in Culpeper.
That you send out to your media list, right?
Right, and they're being sent,
Right.
and we're going to start sending to everybody who's signed up for the alerts. I've got to consolidate that email list into another list to make sure I've got everybody.
Yeah.
That'll either start this week or next.
There's another budget for media and earned media communications that is part of this as well, to push that information out. And frankly, that's a big piece of what SIR helps VDOT with, is how to put that information out. You know, there are some folks, we had this discussion a little bit yesterday, said, well, we want to drive as much as we can to the website. Well, the only people you drive to the website are people that go to websites for information. There's a growing number of people that go to Facebook, or if you can't say it in 148 characters, forget it, which is a continuing challenge.
We're also tweeting the traffic.
And we're tweeting.
And Facebooking
Yes, we are
as well,
tweeting,
so.
Facebooking, tap dancing, doing all that. But yes, that will ramp up now that we're in this construction phase.
If I can just say one comment about that, because I think it's going to be interesting that they're planning to do this striping tonight, but if I can believe the weather forecast, it's going to be raining.
Yeah.
And so the first physical thing that's going on out there like that,
Right.
going to have to see.
Well, I think our first 3 alerts on construction beginning.
That's true, that's true.
Construction beginning at Best Buy ended up to be Dutteroonies,
the alert
because it snowed like crazy every time. Finally, we stopped putting them out and it stopped snowing.
Inclement weather date is tomorrow night and Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But Lou is going to make sure that we get not only copied of the alert, but a PDF of the alert, so we can get that to you guys and then get it up on the website. And there's a new tab on the website for, is it called Traffic Alerts?
It's called Traffic Alerts.
Traffic
On the news
Alerts.
page, it's the very top button on the left-hand side. It says Traffic Alerts, and that opens up the most recent.
But keep us on our toes there. We can't do that too often.
And I also mentioned that the traffic alerts are being distributed to the county and the city and the PDC information officers, so that they can be redistributed through whatever means the city and the county and all those folks have for getting the word out to their distribution lists.
Okay. Pete?
I don't have any. Oh, where's the cohabitation office?
We're not living there.
Did I say that?
That was a technical term, I just repeated it.
Did I say that?
It made it sound like I knew what I was talking about.
Co-location office.
Co-location.
We've settled on a site off of Woodburn Road where Faulkner's yard was, and they've recently moved out. It's down past, not at the end, but probably about halfway down Woodburn Road as you're headed toward the water tower.
Not in one of the old VDOT houses.
No.
It would be ironic.
Those are being sold back.
Okay. I
Near
was
the
curious.
SPCA?
Kind of behind the SPCA.
Is that a place where we could meet? I mean, I don't know if is that a possibility? Or is that going to be a trailer that you're?
It's a staging and storage area as well. It's going to double as a.
Oh, okay. All right, it's not a place. It's not a place. Yeah.
Is that an entrance quarter? Do they need permits for that?
No, it's tucked away behind some trees.
Entrance quarter of the school, but maybe not.
Okay, we're wrapped up. We'll be back here April the 2nd. April the 2nd, 2 weeks, same time. Thank you very much.